two-way conversation. So yeah. Okay, so now let's start. So what's web? Like, what is web? What do you do in web? Is it a spider thing, or is it a computer thing?
Well, right. I guess so. Generally, anything that has to do anything on the internet would I would consider that as web. Even if you do something on your, as you know, if you build an application, some part of it again contributes to web. I think the original word web was probably something on those similar lines, that web is a large network, and now it has transformed into a lot of different things. Uh, if I had to sort of summarize it in one, probably I won't be able to do it in one line, but I would say that anything that you build for, like anything that you build on the internet, or you want to transfer data on the internet, then you have to do it through the web. So then you have various different parts under the umbrella, right? Like you have web development, you have mobile app development, uh, and so on and so forth. I will probably talk a bit more, but I guess the introduction is that something you build for the internet on the internet.
Right. So we have like some images on this slide, and maybe we can go on talking about them. So we have something about HTML here. So what's an HTML?
I guess if you are in first or second year, the answer should be yes. If you are in third or fourth year, the answer should be no.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Exactly. So yep, and we also have like something about CSS and
Uh,
JS. So maybe you can go about the whole HTML,
oh,
CSS, JS stack.
sure, sure. So I think if you guys sort of came into my workshop in the summer, we went about it briefly. So I'll just briefly say something on the sense that HTML is the backbone or the skeleton of, like, if you are making a website, the skeleton is HTML. Then if you want to put on clothes, you have CSS. And if you want to put on muscles, then you have the entire JavaScript. So if you want to move something from here and there, if you want some parts to do something, then you have JavaScript. If you want to showcase, like, as in beautify things, you have CSS, and the normal very backbone or the skeleton is HTML.
That's a great way to put it. And so yeah. So let's talk about like why do we need like a roadmap for web development? Is it so vast? And like what are your insights on it? So
Yeah, sure. Definitely. So when someone says, as in like when a junior sort of comes to me and says that what are the first things you should do, then I would definitely say that start with HTML, CSS. And yes, it is a very deep world, as in very vast field. As you move further, as you dive deep, that's when you see that how vast the entire field of web development is. Uh, People often tend to sort of neglect the depthness of the field. They say that, like, people feel that they have sort of learned a particular language or a particular framework, and they feel that they know almost everything. But like, that's just the starting. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The more you read, the more you see, that's when you sort of realize that it's very deep. I think the links that you have put up are probably one of the best out there.
yeah,
I myself have went through both of them, and if anyone wants to sort of go through them, then yeah, I think we can share them in the chat.
yeah,
And yeah, let's. I think we can take a minute and just talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah. So let's go like so basically let's first discuss what's a front end, what's a back end. Like
Uh,
why do we need front end and back end separate? Like can't we just build a simple software like we do on a PC? Or
uh, right. So I mean, uh, think about it this way: that let's say as I mentioned, we are a body.
yeah,
Now, you can't, let's say you are eating food. Now you just can't, and then eat, and you are like, you get everything out there. Like, the entire body processes it, and that's how you get energy. Like, putting a food in your mouth doesn't make it go anywhere.
right.
So that is why front end and back end are important, in a sense that back end is important for the the internal processes. That is, let's say you have to clean the data, you have to manage the data, you have to work on it, process on it. That is why backend is important. You want to store it somewhere, and front end is again how you want to show that data, like how you have sort of how your body looks. So the right amount of front end and the correct amount of back end would make a good, probably like a good body.
And so like there should be something that connects them, right? So
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
wait. I think okay. So let's talk a bit slowly here, right?
Okay, yeah.
Front in a very simpler terms, I think I'll let me say things in Hindi. जो भी चीजें हमें दिखती है स्क्रीन पे, कोई भी वेबसाइट पे, कोई मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन पे, anything that you can see through your eyes is basically front end.
Right.
And anything that you cannot see, but the part where the processing happens, the part where things are stored, the part where your data goes from point A to point B, that happens via backend. So let's say you have a front end. Let's say this entire website that we are seeing on screen, right? Now this boxes, this tick marks, everything is basically front end. And let's say there was some way, let's say there was a authentication system, as in a user can log in, they can comment. Now, how do we store that comment? Like, let's say even if you write it somewhere, you want it to sort of first of all process it, as in like who commented that, is that person valid, as in is that person authenticated, and what's his name. We also want to show the picture, as in the display picture, and then we want to persist it, right? Like we want others to see that commit as well. So that is where backend comes up. That we have a huge processing mechanism, and then we can store that entire data somewhere. So basically, the end part is basically a database, which again, one could argue that it is not technically backend, but in a broader field, I would say front end and backend. Then yeah, database is a part of backend. And the ways you connect both of them would, like, there are various ways. One of the most preferred ways, I would say, is APIs. APIs are think of it as a pipeline between front end and back end. And front end basically makes an API call to the backend server. It passes data from here to here, and then backend, then sort of can process that data, store it in the database and stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically, we can create like applications that are smart and look good.
Yeah.
Something that isn't possible naturally. Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, hearing on, we have like a three kind of sets if we are like talking about the web and distinguishing between front end and back end. So we have something like a completely static side where you have like only the three basic technologies working on. And then we have something like the back end is like using some templating systems and like feeding the data into the templates. And there is no such thing as a separate front end. And then we have like completely different things where you have like a front end completely different and the back end is completely different, and we have like a communication system using the API.
Yeah. So which one do you prefer?
So I guess so the templating is like it's okay because like there is not too much of JS involved in it, and like you cannot do much of a thing on the client side, like on the browser itself. But when you like completely separate those two, like the front end and the back end, and you can do all sort of things and on whichever side you want, like you want to do cool stuff on the server as well and on the client as well.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah, so what do you prefer? Like we will basically will come to this, but like I'll ask you ahead, like what's your forte?
Currently, as of right now, I would say backend. I have been working on backend since probably more than a year now. I haven't really touched as in front end. I still get some doubts from my classmates as well as a couple of juniors, and I think there has been this image that I did front end a lot in my first 2 years, and I think that created this image that I have been doing front end. But I think that's now a sort of in a way false image. I hardly know any front end right now. If you send me some React code, I would hardly be able to decode it. I would debug it. I might be able to point it somewhere that okay, this might be something, but I have almost lost touch with it.
Yeah. So should we like go over like the roadmaps in like a minute or two, or should we go ahead and maybe come back later?
Anything is fine. I guess we should like let's just take a minute and like at least tell the audience कि क्या क्या
Yeah,
होता है
yeah,
इसमें.
yeah.
Right.
Let's.
So okay, if I had to give a proper roadmap with let's say timelines, right? I would say start with HTML, CSS. It might take a week. Uh, week as in you could do probably an hour every day, and still it would only take a week. uh, don't try to don't try and sit and learn every syntax out there or every what you call every styles out there, but at least know what various basic styles are like. Basically things like div, body, HTML, inputs, buttons, stuff like that. And then basic CSS styling, as in how to add colors, font color, width and height, stuff like that. You don't necessarily need to know the entire let's say flexbox or something like that. At least at the when you're starting. But for the first week, I would say sit an hour every day and try with HTML, CSS, and just either the best way to learn, I would say, is to start something, like literally copy something. Let's say just create the entire Google homepage. It's very simple, right? You only have an image of Google, the word Google, and then you have an input box. So don't try to make it dynamic. Don't try to like connect it with some backend or something. Like just create a simple website, a web page, and then you have an input box. Then from there on, you can start with a bit more advanced stuff, like you can add various images or sliders, stuff like that. So that would probably take a week. Then spend 2 3 other weeks for JavaScript. Now, thing with JavaScript is that there is a lot to learn about JavaScript, but if you know the basics, then it can help a lot. So I would say start with JavaScript. It is a bit confusing, at least when you are when you have just started learning. I think one of the memes said that on the
Yeah.
previous
One
slide.
plus one 11.
Yeah, 1 + 1 11 exactly. So it is a bit confusing, but over time, I guess you get accustomed to it, and then and even then, like there might be cases even right now where I might just make very very silly mistakes. So that's fine. You can still look up on Google it like kabhi bhi, right? So I would say instead of trying to learn everything, like trying to be perfect in HTML, CSS, start with something, know the basics, then move forward. Because after some time, uh, it would get back. Like there will be a ton of things that you don't know, so वो वापस आके सीखना ही पड़ेगा. So just start, know
Right.
the basics, and then move forward.
I
Yeah.
think
So yeah.
like if you are like the current what HTML5 is all about, it's not about how things are like represented and the structure on the web. If you like go through things, like it is all about like accessibility and how does the screen reader, like the automated systems, like know that this is like a different section or this is a navigation part. So they have like different tags for nav. But when you like,
Yeah.
yeah, when you like actually working on it, like it all like works if you just use the divs.
Yeah. So it's basically like here is like start with something and keep it consistent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
consistency is the key, and maintaining interest, I think. Yeah. So we'll also look at the back end now, and then I have like a major question regarding it.
Sure.
That is also
Also,
related to
just
it. So yeah,
one
let's.
point I would like to add
Yeah.
for front end. So, like, just to sort of wrap that roadmap. So, probably first 1 or 2 weeks for CSS HTML, then 3 4 weeks for JavaScript, and then you can dive deep into one of the frameworks. Personally, I would say React.js is one of the best things to learn right now. Uh, both, I guess, because it is very popular, it gives you a lot of good opportunities, and also that if you spend enough time, then it's very easy to create a large scale website through it.
Right.
So you can build your own projects very well if you know React. Yes. So, but one I think one dark thing with React JS is that it has a steep learning curve. So initially
Yeah.
you would feel very very severely, as in like मुझे कुछ नहीं आता ये क्या हो रहा है क्या हो रहा है.
Yeah.
The more time you spend, the more you have that mindset of React, right? So people say
Right.
that you need to have that correct mindset कि ये चीज ऐसे होती है, or you need to think in the React way. So that only comes when you have spent 2 3 4 months doing
Uh,
that.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
totally.
they have their own sort of some concepts that are specific to React.
Yeah.
then there's also some more advanced stuff that maybe if you reach till React, you'll come to know. It's like,
Probably.
So
yeah,
yeah, in one of the advanced stuff, I will say like setting up a project. Like setting up a project in React is hard. Like you have to like bring in everything. Like you have to use some state management system. You have to use something for CSS. You have to find those things and you have to add it into your project.
Right.
that's,
So
yeah,
so
Yep,
it's
definitely.
yeah.
That has been something that I could hardly do it in a very good way. I mostly spent some time, researching on some templates and then trying to just see how they have done and
yeah,
just copy with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We,
that's a good way. Like you
That
we,
yeah, you
yeah,
find a good boilerplate and you like
yeah, yeah.
start from it.
That's what I
that
was
is.
Yeah,
coming to.
yeah.
We can always find a good boilerplate.
Also, just
Yeah,
I think someone messaged me, Uttam Sutaria. I did not get your question, by the way. It says I'm not confusing on JS. My JS has been continued from last 4 weeks. Uttam, can you sort of give me like, अगर आप हिंदी में या गुजराती में लिखना चाहते हो, that's also fine. Like I could not understand your question. So, yeah. Like write the question again, I guess. Till then you can continue here.
yeah. So let's go over like the backend map kind of thing. So what would you
Uh,
suggest? Like, what's the backend way?
Right. It's, I guess, that the problem with backend is that there is no one start point. As in, if I try to say front end, then we know HTML here is the
Yeah,
starting point. Whereas in backend, it's like it's cluttered around. Like you can start with something, then go on here, and then come back over here again. How did I start backend? It was two things that when I was in my first startup, I did not mine. I was working at a startup. I did not have any startup, but
yeah,
we were only a team of 3 developers, and then we had to create, like, we were sort of lagging in backend. So then I sort of switched over like some of my time to backend. So I started with Node.js. I started with Spring Boot. Like the first framework that I learned was Spring Boot. That is Java. I spent time learning it. Again, I highly recommend going on YouTube and searching for playlists. As in, like, I've spent at least hours just searching for good playlists. I have almost never spent any money on buying courses and stuff like that. I should not say this, but torrent is another option. But if you can find good things on YouTube, probably do that, because then you
yeah,
can even save it for further resources.
yeah. Or you can ask your seniors to conduct workshops for you. Like we would do
For
Yeah,
it.
sure,
yeah.
for
We have a
sure,
club for it as well, so they also do
definitely.
it. And
Uh,
yeah,
I think one of the good things with the good thing that is happening right now with our programming club, or as in our college in general, is that it is growing a lot. When I was in my
yeah,
first 2 years, there was hardly any workshops over on development stuff like that, or probably I was a bit ignorant, I guess. But comparatively, I can definitely feel that the entire culture around development is sort of growing more. We fortunately now have DSC. I guess that is very good thing to have.
yeah,
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
if there is any junior, I would highly recommend, just if you don't know anything, just go and sit there. I still remember in my first year, I attended this AWS workshop. I had zero clue what the speakers were saying, but the only thing I did was I had this one notepad out there and just wrote down random shit, stuff like load balancer, stuff like S3 bucket, stuff like region. I did not even know
yeah,
what a region is.
yeah.
So the good thing with attending such workshops is that you come across these new words and then go back home and Google what that means.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think, yeah, and this is common to like all of us. Like even with me, like I attended this like MLH local hack day, and the speaker came in and talked about like AWS and Flask and how you can basically host your own website on cloud. So that's like you can access it through your phone, and for me that was really cool. So that kind of motivated me to go home and like check on how should I put my code, and it can be like it can be seen by everyone. So
Definitely.
so that's like cool stuff that you can do and learn. And regarding the point where like we have like a growing culture now, so credit where it's due. Like people from my batch are working really hard in clubs, and
Definitely.
yeah, and they have like done great work to promote it. And I think my seniors also, like you guys, we had like Smith and Akash who were in P Club, and they also did a lot.
Yeah.
And So it's all like built from one person to another. So I'd encourage everyone who's attending workshop to like think on that. Like you can also contribute uh, to it at some point of time.
For sure.
Yeah,
And like the fun part is it's not like limiting upon us, like we who are learning things, but if you like explore things on Meetup, like it is like everyone is like doing it.
yeah. There's
There
a
are
great
yeah,
programming community all around us. In
yeah.
Ahmedabad only there's like 10 to 20 of them.
Yes,
In fact,
exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just like we weren't aware about it, and like we came to know about it, and we were like wow. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, and they have like specific topics and highly detailed questions. And when you go like they're like industry people who are practicing thing, and they are like asking question like, yeah,
yeah.
that's a kind of experience. Like I think
Yeah.
like yeah,
Moving
everyone should
ahead,
attend.
like I'll come to like a very main question, and that will set like a sort of base for the next phase. So there's this thing like front end developer and back end developer. So the guy that makes back end and the guy that makes
Right.
front end. And there's also like this thing where they say that a good back end developer should also be doing front end, or like there's job listings where they have like this whole full stack of requirements they
Yeah.
want from a developer. So what's
Right.
your view on it? Like what
Uh,
should a developer actually know?
right. So first of all, a good joke on that was that I read it on I think I think Twitter probably. That there was this guy. I think it was called Homebrew or something like that. It is an open source software,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he said that he could not clear any interviews of Google, but the position that they were the position that was open was for sort of in a way homebrew developer, and he was the guy who developed that entire software.
yeah,
So and other good thing, sorry, not a good thing, other joke around that was that there is this thing called I think Fast API,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
the guy who sort of developed that, he was just looking at one
yeah,
of the job listing, and that job listing said that it needed a 5-year experience on Fast API, and then he posted this screenshot and he said that sorry, I cannot apply for this Fast API job because I only developed it 1.5 years ago.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
again, yeah, there is a lot of things when let's say when someone posts about the job that you need this 10 different things to know. Uh, it's very difficult to know everything. It's very challenging to stay up to date with things because I think uh, there is this image I think on the presentation as well that we see in 2019 there was only JavaScript. In 2019 you have 100 different things just out of JavaScript.
Yeah.
So yeah, this
Yeah.
one. So it's almost, and I think it also doesn't really make sense to know everything because if you try to go around and learn everything, it becomes very difficult.
right,
I think coming back to the original question between a front end developer and a back end developer, I would say, I mean, again, this is sort of a biased opinion because I went through that journey and I think that it's a good way to start, a good way to learn things is that start with front end, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, then spend some time learning one library. Again, React.js I would recommend, but doesn't have to be that. You can go for Angular, you can go for Vue, stuff like that. And then spend some time doing backend development. There is Django, there is Flask, there is Node.js. I have personally spent a lot of time doing backend development in Node.js. Most of my college projects were in Node.js. Even currently, the internship that I have been doing has been in Node.js. So that is one great framework, like probably one of my favorite ones out there for backend development. So I would encourage everyone to start with front end. At least spend 2-3 months doing that. Then switch over to backend as well. Spend 3-4 months doing backend. Once you have spent 8 to 10 months doing as in the entire web development, then you can decide that what do you want to do. Probably you feel that front end is more geared towards like is more favorable for you. That you feel more confident and more easy or more comfortable with front end, then you can shift to front end. And if you don't feel as like I did not really feel comfortable with React.js, I felt that I lacked a lot of the correct mindset for React.js, and then that's when I sort of switched to backend. And fortunately, I found my piece with backend development. And I was really intrigued with a couple of things that there are in backend development, as in the scalability and all. So that's when I finally switched to backend. But if you have done, or if you have spent some time doing front end, then I would say you know what all things the front end engineer needs, and that's how I would say you are probably a bit more. I would say you have a bit upper hand compared to other backend developers if they have not spent some time doing front end development, because then you know what a front end engineer needs, and then you can provide build the correct APIs or stuff like that.
Right. Uh, so basically, having a little bit of front end experience is always a good thing for a back end person to have.
And the other way around as well. I mean, you cannot.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah,
So they can communicate.
definitely. Also, I know there has been a trend of machine learning and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I would say even though you want to, let's say you want to become one of those, machine learning engineer, or let's say an AI engineer, I would still say spend at least some time doing any sort of web development, because
Yeah.
like think about it, right? If you have to develop a machine learning project, you cannot submit a Python script, or you can submit a Jupyter notebook to someone. Like it doesn't really help. You have to build an entire pipeline. Let's say
Yeah.
if you want to build a product, right? A product out
Hmm.
of it. Let's say some sort of NLP product where there is some processing on data. Then you need the person or the client to have an input box or somewhere where they can send the data, and then there should be some server where it should sort of capture that data. Now,
Yeah.
if you don't know how these two things work, then you cannot just sit there with your Jupyter notebook or your Python script and wait for things to do. Like you cannot manually run it every time.
So this is also like from personal experience, I'll say that of course this is like a great point. Like even when you go to hackathons and you are like creating a solution that requires some kind of machine learning or deep learning, you can't just show them the Jupyter script. You need to integrate it into a product that is seen by the, like, maybe if there's like a startup guy who's judged. So basically he'll see your complete product. He won't be going into looking like what is your Python script or
Right.
how it works. So you need that sort of experience. Yeah. Now I'll.
I think it is more
Yeah.
of a like the idea matters kind of perspective in like most of the people. Like uh, when you like, I think it is more of you have to see things as a tools and not like the entire field in itself. Like
Yeah.
ML as a tool is way better than seeing like ML is a like a big field. Like if
Right.
you
Right.
yeah
Right.
yeah it is a
Yeah.
tool and you are supposed to use it somewhere to solve something. Like that's the ultimate goal of an engineer, to solve something.
Definitely. I
Yeah.
completely agree. I guess a lot of times what we sort of forget is that at the end, when we sort of come out of our university, we get the degree of an engineer. Doesn't matter where like whether we are from, let's say, a computer science background or mechanical background, we are in a way engineers, and the core scientific belief of an engineer should be to build products from like things that sort of help in a way. And
Right.
I personally think that building a Python script, no matter I completely I cannot do that. Like I'm almost like as in a not even a beginner in machine learning, but then I feel that having a simple Python script there doesn't really help anyone out there. You cannot sit and enter data thousands of times again and again. So if you can build an entire product, an end-to-end product, that is where sort of you come out of the crowd, or like you are one of not the only one out there.
Yeah. So like we have set the base for the next question. So how do I get people to give me work if I'm a web developer? And I'm mostly talking about like the in the startup ecosystem. Like how important is it to put my work out there? How do I put my work out there? And so basically, I've also heard that the word of mouth travels in like this ecosystem, and you get like great jobs from just reference alone. So
But
how what is the process regarding it?
uh, sure. So as in there is no like there is no clear pathway, as in like from first to second to third, there is no clear pathway. But I would say some point that I have seen people do, or I have spent myself doing them. So first, it is very important to get things out there, to build something. Like you cannot say, like you not send out resumes with just saying ki I'm a, let's say I have seen resumes with where you have star or like the proficiency of your skill. You cannot just send a resume saying you are 4 out of 5 in React.js without showing or building any project. It doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
If I am a recruiter and if I say that Kaushal Patil, I see a resume named Kaushal Patil, and then there is a section about his skills or proficiency, and it says like React.js a beginner or let's say even amateur or probably like intermediate, and then you have 4 out of 5 stars that you have mentioned. Now, I don't know, right? There is no clear scale out there or anywhere in the world that measures ki kitna aata hai. Like, what does that 5 star mean? The
Yeah.
only way to see that 5 star is ki the project that you have built.
Yeah.
So, and that is why it is very, very important to build projects. Doesn't matter if you have literally, uh, in a way, build something that is already out there. I do not mean that you should like take a GitHub code and just fork your repo. If you do that, that's fine, but then you should know the entire internal workings of that repo.
Right.
So a point that I should mention, GitHub. GitHub should be your as a badge of honor. When someone sees your GitHub profile, it should that person should feel कि, okay, इसने कुछ किया है, or he has spent some time doing that, or he can feel कि, okay, I should probably hire him. I do not say कि मेरी profile ऐसी है, it's probably not as good as it should be, but I guess everyone is trying to do something right. So try to work on open source projects, try to build projects that are not part of your curriculum. So I think a lot of students that make mistake is that they wait for the projects to be given during their semesters or like during a particular course, and then they think okay, इस project को मैं GitHub पे डाल दूंगा. In a way, it doesn't really help, because if you think we have courses like let's say computer organization, or if stuff like let's say ADSA, right? Now, I'm not saying that those are bad things, but I'm just saying that if I'm a recruiter and I want a developer, a web developer,
Yeah.
I probably I won't be sort of taken away from those projects, right? Like,
Yeah.
I won't be
So for like ADSA, maybe someone will see their competitive profiles statistics rather than the project on GitHub.
project. Yeah, exactly. So sorry, coming back to the original question, how do you sort of showcase it around? I don't know. I have not really I did not really do that. As in, like I hardly post a lot on LinkedIn. I think people should do that, especially if you are trying to build something, because one thing that I definitely believe in is the network effect. Or the bigger the network you have, the higher the quality of your network, the higher the opportunity you get.
Right.
So I think Nakshatra Maheshwari asked me this question right now, and he says his question is, where have you done internships from? So after my first year, I did an internship. As in, I wouldn't say it was an internship; it was probably like a full-time gig that I did. For 2 years, I did at QUZE. It is a startup. And so how did I get that? Well, again, network effect. I had my friend who is in PICT. He came across this guy from Chicago. The guy from Chicago called as in mailed my friend. My friend told me that we should do. So that is how I got my first opportunity. Then I spent almost 1.5 years doing that, and after 1.5 years, it was around that time that I applied for GSOC.
Yeah.
Probably not 4.5 years. Sorry, my mistake. I think it was probably 9 to 10 months that I came across GSOC. I applied. The thing that helped me a lot in GSOC was that I had already spent 9 to 10 months developing a website as a web product that is front end. I was doing React.js and a bit of Spring Boot. So that I think that really sort of made me stand out of the crowd. From that, now I did GSOC. A good thing that happened with me in GSOC was that in the same organization, I had a senior to me, who was in DICT. The first month of our GSOC project was very similar. So we almost every week we had our meeting with the mentors, and the meetings were same. Like since the first month, the work in the first month was same. We attended the same meeting. and sort of that's how I grew that a bit of connection with him. And now, up 1 year down the lane, that is the summer of 2020. That's when he messaged me that he's currently working, like he's a senior, so he joined that startup at it's called Lyan, Lyan. He joined that, and then he messaged me that they are hiring for interns, and if I wanted to apply. So that's how I got my second opportunity. So if you think I did not really apply to those two positions, it was more like I got them because I have some way or the other had formed a network. And
Yeah.
if you think about it, probably the first, like the friend with whom I was working at Fuse, he probably had 10, 20 different friends. But one of the things that probably he messaged me was because I was developing something, like he had seen my work. Similar case with the senior who sort of brought me at Leon, was that he had seen me work during GSOC, and he sort of knew at least that the amount of work I did. So that is why I guess, again, I'm not sure, it is an estimate that is why he sort of messaged me rather than messaging probably 100 different people out there.
Yeah, so I'd like to add here as well, like personally my experience is the same. Like the like word of mouth travels a lot, and there's always like someone who's looking for someone to code something for them in our field. So
Definitely.
for those who are like maybe want internships in their first or second years, like don't be afraid to ask people if they want, like if they want a website built for them or something, and don't be afraid to say yes to an opportunity. You can
Definitely.
always like Google stuff and learn it and build it for them, but don't be afraid to say no, and that will bring a lot of opportunities. Something more I'd like to add here is that a great way to learn stuff and like put your stuff out there is hackathons. And yeah, so this is from my experience. And I have like I've attended MLH hackathons and some local hackathons as well, and they also provide great networking opportunities. Like there are like local mentors and people from in around the community, and they all come together and they hear your ideas and they see what you're working on. So that's a great way to get your work out there and build a network as well. And once they are on your network, even when you build a project and you share it on your LinkedIn or maybe on your GitHub or somewhere on your Instagram, people see what you are doing and they remember. Also, one more thing which I'm probably forgetting. Yeah, regarding college projects, yeah, don't be afraid to go all in on college projects. So if you have like a TBMS project, maybe you can like pick up another framework and try to mix them and build a project that will look great on your resume. And that is also a project that you can build. And it's like you are hitting two birds with one arrow, the
Yeah.
old saying.
Yeah, I think that's like a good thing. But also, like, what we faced is like when we do like college projects and like we are not aware of like what people wants, we build it in our like own like small circle. But
Yeah,
once you start like doing a internship or two, then you get the like
yeah,
real
yeah, yeah.
idea what the state of art is, like
Hmm.
what should be there, like to make your project into a real product.
Yeah,
So
so
I
as
think
we
that
yeah,
is where you like boost up your project like to that level
yeah,
before
so
actually showcasing it to people.
yeah, we have that saying in like software engineering that your work will not be used by only you, it will be used by everyone. And I think that's really beautiful thing about a project. Like you're building it for someone who's going to use it, so you have to make sure it's up to the mark. Yeah, anything else? If you have any questions regarding this topic, it's kind of a deeper topic, and you can hit us, like put it in the chat, and we'll wait for some time, and maybe we can like share some more insights if Aman wants to share something more on here or something.
Sure. Also, yeah, like people like everyone who is on this call, feel free to ask questions.
Yeah,
It's a very open-ended talk, as in a chat. Like it's just a couple of friends discussing on something they have been doing for some time now, and
yeah,
like sharing things that they have learned so that other people can spend less time searching for things and
yeah,
can quickly take up and build
yeah.
something out there.
So maybe if we can like open the chat for everyone, like is it open for everyone? Arpit?
Yes, yes.
So yeah, you can drop your questions in the like everyone to everyone, and we'll see, and like others can also know what you are asking.
Yep.
So like Vinay just asked like what are some sources for good events and workshop in this online world? So like
Good, yeah.
yeah, I'd say like this is the best time.
Yeah,
Like since
best time
everything
of the
was
year.
yeah,
Yeah,
so since everything was online, like when like it is a year now, and like when like GitHub launched it, like code spaces and all, like I was there on the keynote, and it like really felt like it was really great. So since everything is open to everyone and on the web, like you need to like keep looking for things like
yeah,
like
join
if
a like create an account on Meetup, join
yeah,
communities around Ahmedabad or Vadodara. We have like great communities like developer circles and GDGs, and we also have like TensorFlow group, and
yeah,
we
Pi
also have a
data and
Figma community.
yeah.
So join them, they are really great, they help you create a bigger network, and also if you want to work for someone, they also give you that sort of opportunity as well.
And so the people on like meetups and like in these communities and like in the open source, they are like the best kind of people to talk to.
Yeah, they are
Like
really frank.
yeah, you can ask the stupidest question to them, and like they will answer you with great patience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll probably send you like 2 paragraphs of information on like if you ask what is HTML, and
For
still
sure.
they'll answer with that kind of dedication.
yeah,
Yep. Just don't do that on Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
yeah,
People will
no,
kill. People
yeah,
will
No,
kill you on there.
yeah.
you probably get shadow banned or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But Twitter is a great place. You can ask
Oh,
such stuff on
definitely.
Twitter.
I
Yeah,
sort of one of the regrets is that I joined Twitter very late, as in only I joined it only I guess a year ago. I
yeah,
was not there for first 2 years, and I can really see the community out there on Twitter. As in, I'm very sort of passionate about startups, and now I follow a lot of people that have either built their startups or sort of are building there, and the threads they post, even a single tweets that they send out are really great. And then there is again like the more people you follow, the more recommendations you get because of the search engine
yeah,
stuff like that. So it's very good. Also, just one more point about uh, how to get connected to various things. Definitely meetups as in the website meetup and meetups. Then you can join a lot of Slack channels. You
yeah,
can join LinkedIn groups. You can join Facebook groups. You can join Discord servers. uh, there are just there is just like tons and tons of things that you can do. Just make sure that you don't go into a rabbit hole, as in you start digging somewhere and you just keep on digging and don't know. You have joined everything, but you're not doing anything. Like, don't be that guy where
yeah,
you are part of 100 different communities, but you
yeah.
have built not yet, like you have not even built a single thing. So just make sure that you are proactive as well.
I
Also,
think if you are building something and you go to a meetup, like that's where the like real gold digger, like that's where the
Sure.
brown is. Like
Yep.
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
rest like it is just listening to something that you don't really understand.
Agree. I think one of the thing that Arpit said, I felt that when I was applying for my GSOC. So when you apply for GSOCs, you have to communicate to your mentors. You have to talk to them. So the organization that I applied to had a Google group, and you had to like everyone had to post their introduction in a public way, right? So there I mentioned that I have been working on React.js for past 7-8 months. Then I mentioned that I had worked with a client, and then I mentioned that I was also part of startup and stuff like that. And then all the other sort of posts that I saw were mostly that they know this, they know this, they know this, they have built this. But the fact that I had spent 7-8 months building something and I could show that via my GitHub or like GitLab profile, I felt that was one of the things that made me stand out. And that is why I think and why Arpit said is like really important that just like attending workshops is very important. But if you attend 100 workshops for 100 days, a day after attending every workshop, it doesn't really help unless you start building something on your own. Because
right.
at the end, the only thing that will help you or sort of make you stand out is what you have built, what you can show for.
Yep. Uh, And like I'd like to also plug in here that a great new opportunity is coming up on 26th March. We have our hackathon, and we have like prizes worth like half a lakh rupees or something. So join us, and you can like there's like 5 tracks and 3 prizes, and we are expecting many participants, so it would be great if our university students or students or people from this meet can join us at hackathon and build something great that could really get us your next job or something. So do join us, to participate. Someone will send the link to our hackathon website in the chat, and you can like register with Devfolio. Devfolio is a great platform where you can search for hackathons. So more on the question where you can find events. So yeah, you can find events on Devfolio as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So hackathons are like a
Fun
like
activity.
yeah no,
Yeah.
I want to say
Stressful.
it's
It's
like
like stress and fun together. How is that even possible? But yeah,
Yeah,
that's what.
you can only sort of answer that once
yeah
spend some
once
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
yeah. Once you have attended a hackathon, you realize that
yeah, so
it's
it is like a special thing, like everyone should experience that special thing.
yeah. And once we go offline and there are offline hackathons, like people are going to lose it because they just provide such a great experience. And
Sure.
there's free Red Bull.
Oh yeah. Those are the best ways they give free
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. There's stickers that you can put on your laptops. There's
Sure.
t-shirts that you can like flex, and there's Red Bull and free food. But yeah, we are doing it online, so we'll also make sure that you have some fun. We have some fun events planned as well. Okay, moving ahead. Yeah, there are a gazillion like web technologies to choose from. What do you choose? What should we choose? Let's talk on some of them, like you have done with React and Node. So maybe we can give them insights like how those work and why they exist, stuff like that.
Sure. This would the answer that I'm about to give is sort of in a way personally biased because I would say things that I have went through and I don't have a lot of experience with other technologies. But I would say why I chose that because like no one is sort of born with React yet, like knowing React yet.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I was also sort of confused. And so I'll just share my thoughts on why I chose something and not the other. It doesn't mean that that is the right way. There are tons of different opportunities out there. Feel free to explore yourself and then see how you are feeling about it or कहाँ पे आप comfortable हो. So I started with after CSS, HTML, JavaScript. I started with React.js. Why did I start with that and not others? Because first of all, I talked with my cousins who are right now in America, and probably one of the things that I saw again online was React.js that was sort of booming back in 2017, 18. It was sort of the popular guy, the popular kid in the college, stuff like that. So I started doing that. I learned that in my summer vacations after my first year, and then I felt okay, this is again while doing that I again spent a time researching ये क्यों और ये क्यों नहीं, and some of the answers that I do remember were कि first that sort of thing that should not be considered, but I considered was because it was backed by Facebook. So the Facebook has its open source department, and React came out of that. So that was one good thing. Uh, Other good things were that you have different components. The mindset, I wouldn't say the mindset, but uh, how would I say it? The way you think in React is via components. You have different things out there, like small components, and everything is built on top of a small component. So a button is a component. Then you have, then you build a bigger component, stuff like that. And I felt that initially reading various articles, I felt that okay, this is something I can think through or I can build upon something. So that is why I sort of started with React, and then when I sort of switched over to backend, I find the first framework that I chose was Spring Boot Java. Why Spring Boot Java? Literally no other reason, but the startup that I worked had developed their backend in Spring Boot. So I cannot, spend my time learning Node.js when I have to work on Spring Boot or Java. So my second was a bit more sort of, in a way mandatory option. So that's why I sort of came across Spring Boot. And then I think in my fourth semester, I guess, sorry, not fourth, sixth semester probably, yeah. So somewhere between fifth and sixth semester in that transition period, at the Q's, the startup that I was working at, we sort of finally decided that maybe we should switch over our backend stack. One of the reasons for that was we were using serverless. Uh, what serverless is, well, it is a different technology stack. I wouldn't say a complete stack, but a different way to build your servers. And a major issue with serverless is that it has hot reloads, which means that if cold reloads, which means that uh, you need to persist, like consistently have hot refreshes on your server, which means, let's say you have your server over here, and if there has not ever been a request in last 5 minutes, or let's say in an hour, the next request that comes on this server will have to wait for 1 minute for this server to start processing. So this was one of the issues with serverless. Like
Right.
after some time, if there is no request on your server, it sort of cools down, and so that is why it was called cold starts or a hot refresh.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt that this was in a way hindrance. So then we spent around 3-4 weeks, me and the couple of my friends that we are working on which technology stack we should switch over to. That's when I spend a lot of time researching, reading articles, blog videos on the right framework for our backend team then. So after some reading, we finally concluded that Node.js would be good, primarily because our front end was in React.js. So a JavaScript framework, both having your front end and back end JavaScript framework helps a lot, especially in communication. So then we finally decided to switch over to Node.js. So
Yeah.
again, that second uh, switch over for backend was a bit more thoughtful, a more research option, and then I've stick with Node.js because now I'm very comfortable, doing that.
Right. And like based on your experience with like the current growing startups, like what are the stacks that you seem to be that there are most that they are most popular?
Sure. For front end, React.js, I think is sort of right now the undisputed king. Almost majority of the teams, majority of the companies out there, especially startups, use React.js for sure. Then for backend, you can have various couple options. You can have Node.js, as I mentioned. You can have Java. There are a couple of frameworks, but I think Spring Boot is one of the common ones for Java. Then you have Django or Flask. So if you have been developing something in Python, then Django or Flask is a very good option to choose. Uh, just an additional point over here. So what you can do is, let's say you want to work at an MNC, right? So what you can do is go on their job listings like LinkedIn, and then search for what the job asks for, and then you start learning that. Now it doesn't guarantee that you will get that job, but then you're sort of learning something that is required in that industry.
Right.
But just again, make sure that you don't be that guy who is sort of learning, let's say, something from 1990s for 2020s. So just make sure that you're in a way updated with the current technology stack that's going. But choosing anyone from the famous ones wouldn't really matter. As in, if you choose Angular over React, or even if you choose, let's say, Django over Node.js or Spring Boot over Node.js, it wouldn't really matter.
Right. So keeping up with the trends, like you should know like what
Yeah,
others are doing
I
and
think like
maybe some
one thing
follow
that
and
like
lines.
Aman point out, like it's that if you have you're working somewhere and they have a specific requirement, then you have to like forget things and like start from scratch and learn new things.
for sure.
I don't think like it is a completely scratch whatsoever, because like like how things work now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like
So
the fundamentals remains the same, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, 1 plus 1 would always be 2. Similarly, if you have developed something in backend, like you have created a server, then you know that there is a request that is coming, and then you have to send a response. Now, the syntax in which you send might differ from Python to JavaScript to Java, but the concept of request and response remains the same.
Yeah, on the 1 plus 1 point,
Yeah.
it's funny
Don't
because
say
now,
don't say JavaScript.
yeah, uh, okay, uh,
Yeah.
okay, coming back. So, anything more from your story that you would like to share with us that people should know, like something from GSOC or from
Uh,
before GSOC?
I guess I would say, I would say this, right? Doesn't matter what you do. I know a lot of juniors are sort of doing CP. I personally never did CP. I spent probably 2 3 months doing CP, that is competitive programming. Why I did that was, why I sort of did not do CP was I did not feel comfortable. Like, I did not feel the fun in it, right? Like, let's say one of so the mentor that right now I have, he asked me this question when I sort of joined कि अगर तुम्हें कोई रात को उठा के पूछे कि तुम्हें क्या करना है, so that question to me was asked for front end and back end. He asked कि रात को अगर मैं तुझे उठा के पूछूं कि तुझे front end करना है कि back end, तू क्या करेगा, and like instantaneously my answer was back end. So that's when I was like, ठीक है ये अब, so back end is like now my thing. And he said ठीक है तुझे, so that's how I sort of I joined back end team. So that was something I did not really ask that same question to me. But if I had to say right now, why did not do CP was primarily this. कि अगर मुझे रात को उठा के कोई बोल के CP करना था, I wouldn't have done that. But if someone said कि तुझे क्या करना है रात को उठा के, अगर तुझे बोलूँ, तो I would probably would have said back then कि मुझे development करना है. I want to build things.
Hmm.
Doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily mean कि web development, but I wanted to build things.
Right.
Now, why the long story over here is, it doesn't mean that you should do web development. It doesn't mean that you should stop doing CP. If you know Smith Mandavia, my very good friend and my classmate, he is in Google. I think it would probably be most of your dream jobs. And I think there is one small difference between a small similarity between me and him, and a difference between the others from my class was that I felt that we were consistent in what we did. So when I say
Yeah.
that, I meant that I have been doing web development for past almost 3 years now, right? Probably
Hmm.
more than that. And
Hmm.
Smith, if you see his track record for competitive
Yeah.
programming, I think he has never missed his contest on portfolio for, like, he has a streak of 92 or probably 100 contests by now. And that's how he has that high ranking. Like, probably, I think one of the thing that sort of, yeah, amazed me even right now was that he was in top 6 or 7 on code shift
Yeah.
with I don't know, that
Yeah,
the
he's like
tourist guy.
the greatest in the world, and he's like right there. And even
Yeah.
that felt great because someone from like our university was with the
Exactly.
greatest of the world.
Exactly. So I think one of the
Yeah.
things that we had was that the similarity between me and him was that we were consistent in what we did. Like, I did not switch from web development to CP to web development to CP2, and he did not ever try doing web development. Like, he started doing CP and then he stuck to it.
Right.
And I think that is what in a long run helps a lot. That if you have been doing something for a long time, then you have built that mindset to do something for that long. Whereas, let's say if you started doing CPs when you have your interviews are near, then it becomes a lot more challenging than it would have been for Smith, because he has been doing that
Yeah.
for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So he already has that mindset कि अच्छा ये question इसके बारे में तो ये हो जाएगा ऐसे ऐसे ऐसे.
Right. Right.
And if, let's say, if I had to build something, then I don't know. I think I probably could answer in a better way than most of my classmates. Purely
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I've spent more time reading and doing things on that
Yeah.
scale.
So the importance here again is like doing stuff and consistency.
Consistency.
Right. So that's a great. I mean, great point. Like
Yeah.
everyone listening, I mean, you should like find something that interests you and like get on it. Like do it.
Yeah,
What's stopping you? Just do it.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Again, like, also, if you have, let's say, if you are passionate about designs, doesn't mean that you should stop doing that. highly recommend. There are a lot of design roles out there,
Yeah.
and the better designs you make, the better opportunities you will get.
Yeah, so we have like websites like Dribble,
Oh
Behance
yeah,
for designers. Yeah, so you can put your work out on them and get noticed. So it's like you need to do something, and then people follow.
definitely.
So I think, have you been to like awards.com?
No, I haven't heard of that.
So it is something like even I have been doing like web development for like over a year, and it is something like that amazes every time. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it has like great front end and like great interactions, like super cool.
Great.
Yeah, so maybe you can link it in the chat and
Yeah.
people can see. And like, yeah, we are open to questions. People have you sent? Yeah, please send questions, and maybe if we can like open the mic to everyone, we can. So maybe people can unmute themselves and ask.
Yeah, just hold on. Okay, now you guys can unmute yourself and like ask
Yeah,
questions.
so Kawan is asking, what would you suggest to a first student here? I mean, they should try to explore new tech, right? And then find a topic that interests you and then stick to that topic.
Uh,
So,
okay,
yeah.
so I have a bit of, I mean, this it is sort of in a way a diplomatic answer over here, that you should try to explore as much as you can, but then you should find your niche as well. It's not very straightforward answer, as in like, the first part I say you should explore as much, and then I say okay, find your niche. So I would say the very ideal scenario would be that you spend your first 2 years of your college life in exploring as much as you can. Like it can be anything. It doesn't have to be web development. You can try for CP. You can try for web development, app development. You can try for as a cloud engineer, probably a designer. You can start your own startup. There is nothing stopping you, right? Just explore anything that you can do. Just make sure that you are exploring new things as you are moving forward. And then at some point, you should switch over from exploring to building a niche in that field. Now this the why I said 2 years, because I think that's a good enough amount, let's say, for exploration, and then 2 years for in a way mastering that field. Now this doesn't mean that everyone should do that, because everyone has their own timelines. Some might spend the entire 4 years just exploring. Some might get their kick in the first year and then they spend 3 years mastering that. Uh, but in the long run, exploring and then finding your niche, the shorter span you spend doing those two things would be the better one. Would get you better opportunities.
I think like both of them, like there has to be some kind of balance in both the things, like because if you like when you get an opportunity for doing something, it is not like always restricted that you have to do only the specific thing. There
Yeah.
are cases where you have to like go beyond your comfort zone and do some other thing. So
For
like
sure,
a little bit of exploration in the beginning can help you. And like you said, like if you do front end, like helps in the back end. Like do back end, it helps in the front end.
for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and even like a good example of this would be like even when we train artificial intelligent like bots, right? There's this factor called exploration rate, and we have to set it to like a particular value, and it's usually like point 0.2 or something. And I think that's like good. That's like in life also it follows that you need like that point 0.2 factor of exploration. Even when you get stagnant with the stack, you
Right.
should always like have sort of like maybe wish to explore something new, and it
Sure.
should always be there. Never let it get to, I mean, zero. But
Definitely. I
yeah.
think I it was today or yesterday that I read this quote I hear again on Twitter or LinkedIn, is that the only thing that keeps a person going is curiosity. The more curious you are, the more things you will learn, and the better opportunities or the better person you become.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so
Both
just
have.
one small thing I definitely want to add, and I think it is one of those things that almost every AU student lacks, is I guess the awareness about how things are, awareness about various processes out there, uh, awareness about how to get an internship, when to get an internship, when to apply, what are the things you should need for an internship, uh, then how the resume should be. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should know this, uh, like everyone should know the answer to every question, but I guess you should at least try sort of spend some time searching for this question, because if you don't know when to apply for an internship, you will never get that internship because you have never applied. And
Right.
if you don't know if you don't know what the interview process is, even if you get that interview, you won't be able to crack it because you don't know how those things work. And so being aware about your surroundings and about various processes is very important. And I feel for some reason there has been lack of awareness in AU students, especially probably because हमारे कॉलेजेस में we don't have हमारे कॉलेजेस में नहीं हमारे कॉलेज में we don't have on campus internships, right? Like most of the companies that come over here are for placements only. Whereas if you think about DICT or NITs or IITs, a lot of good companies, as in like the fan companies, come for internships on campus, and the normal timeline for that is just before the start of your third year. And if you are applying off campus, and if you did not know that Microsoft hires or takes an interns or like takes the interviews during your probably 2 to 6 semester, right? So if you don't know that you have to apply there, then you won't be able to apply. And if you don't apply, you will never get an interview. So that is, I think, awareness is important. Now, how to be aware? Again, curiosity. Like you should, ask questions. You talk to people. You should Google. I think Google is one of those underrated tools. Everyone knows about it, but hardly anyone uses it in a good way. Like people don't really ask
Right.
a lot of good questions. I think it was Kunal Shah. If he's the CEO and founder of Spirit,
Yeah.
and he posted this very very interesting statistics. I think on Twitter or LinkedIn, probably both. He showed that over time, over the past few years, the word what and how, the searches with these two words have declined a lot. So people now don't search for those questions. Like people don't search what to do or how to do things or what is this thing. And I think it sort of shows that people don't use Google to its full potential.
Right. Right. That's a great insight about like being aware and being curious.
Yeah, I
So
think like our work itself is like googling things and like getting things to
yeah,
work.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Even
great to
right
say
now,
that.
even right now in my internship, like I probably Google a lot of almost like every day, how to do
Yeah.
this, how to do that. So that never goes away. Page on template. I mean, there's a template on internet. If I modify that and post it as right.
uh,
Uh, I don't know the correct answer. I have not spent my time reading about legalities.
so
So
yeah, so let me,
Um,
like there
yeah.
is like when you look something on GitHub, it will always have something called
A
the
license.
license with it. So you are like, yeah, spend some time and look into it. Like if it is like MIT license, then it is basically free for everyone to use.
Yeah, but again, like if it is like a design template that you are meaning, so yeah, you can copy design templates. You can copy designs up to a certain extent if it's not proprietary. Otherwise it's okay to use design templates. Like there are people that sell design templates and there are design templates that are available for free. If you mean a template on like a project, like basically there's like this template that lets you build a website. So yeah, use that template and build the websites. That's your own. Like don't just put like something that is similar to the template or just the template. But yeah, the point where you said that if I modify it, make sure that you have modified it enough to call it your own. And that sort of depends on the person itself.
Yeah, I
Like
think
what
like
do you
if
feel
you,
comfortable on calling on your own. Yeah.
yeah, if you like change everything, like the content of it, only the text, and if you don't change the name and the description kind of meta tags and description kind of thing, then like, oh, it will be like quite obvious. But it can be said like if you are taking boilerplates and templates from GitHub and some open page, like if you can access it, like it is mostly going to be free, like
Yeah, and
open to use.
it's actually a great practice to refer to someone's code and learn from it, and helps you a lot as a if you are developing. But straight up copying, no. And I think there have been like incidences with Indian YouTubers and like our developer community where people have like contributed simple readme lines to codes and stuff like that. So make sure there's like a proper code of conduct that you follow, because like our community is very giving, and since you are the taker, at least we
Yeah,
should
yeah,
be nice about it.
yes.
So yeah, great question, I think.
Just one small point I would to add over here, that if you're trying to build, let's say, something like an Amazon, then I would highly recommend doing that. As in, like, literally going on Amazon.com and trying to code every part of it. That I think is legal, and I think everyone should it. That you're trying to build an Amazon. But
Yeah.
as like if you're like literally copy pasting code from like the code snippets, then as Kaushal and I think mentioned, that's the way you should follow. But if you're trying, let's say if you saw something and then you're trying to create something like the same thing but from scratch on your own, then it is a very good way to learn things. And if you can build various websites from that, then it is very helpful.
Yeah, and like one thing that can help you build something on your own is the developer console that's in the browser, and we have a workshop on it on Saturday. So make sure you join. But
So
yeah.
also like one thing is I personally like reading code of like good repos and libraries. Like when you see
Yeah,
it, like it has like very good formatting and like your code is like readable and all. Like
so you can like
yeah,
take out some sort of pragmatic
yeah,
practices
yes, yes,
from other
exactly.
people's code.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Because we are on the thanks slide now. So and it's also 11 o'clock. So if you don't have any more questions, yeah, we'll wait for 1 minute for people to type in if they have a question.
Sure. Also, like, I don't mind. I mean, you can just, I'll probably write my, how do I get it? Send my to everyone, right? Just send in my number.
Uh,
You can message me. I'll send in my email as well.
so he just asked him like, what should I learn after learning HTML, CSS, JS?
Yes. So for, let's say, once you start with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, so that's a front end, like one of the front end technologies, right? So then I would say start going into some of the framework. I again, as I mentioned, React JS is one of the popular ones right now. So try doing that, and then you can switch over to backend. Like if you have spent a couple of months in React JS, then you can switch over to backend, the world of backend, and then you can dive into that. Also, like, feel free to ask, like, once this sort of, in a way, once we stop recording, like, we can feel free to ask any questions you have, else, like, if you feel the like is spending, like, I don't want to record it, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll stop the recording there. Do we have someone else who's recording as well?